What I usually do, first, I talk about 5 large-scale scientific studies, and I check after each one, and fewer than 1% of the people in my audiences have read any of them, so I know they don't know much about them. The one that really got me going, the biggest study ever done for the Air Force, you never find it referenced by the debunkers. Project Blue Book Special Report number 14. It covered 3,201 sightings. The work was done by Battelle Memorial Institute, although their name isn't on it, incidentally. There are 240 charts, tables, graphs, and maps, just chock full of data. But the salient points is, first of all, 21.5% of the cases couldn't be identified after investigation by professionals spending full time trying to investigate. Second, the better the quality of the sighting, the more likely to be unidentified, which is what you'd expect if they were real. Third, they were completely separate from the 9.3% that were listed as insufficient information. You often get people saying, well, the only reason they couldn't identify there wasn't enough data. If there wasn't enough data, that went over in this box. They also asked an obvious question. After you look through enough of these cases, a question that is pretty obvious. Is there really any difference between the unknowns, these exciting ones, and the knowns? They looked at 6 different characteristics: apparent size, color, shape, speed, that sort of thing. Did a statistical cross comparison, chi-square analysis for the mathematicians out there. The probability that the unknowns were just misknowns was less than 1%. That's pretty good statistics. So they're not like any of the others. Now, I'm not saying we can answer the obvious questions. Well, what are they doing here? Where'd they come from? How do they operate? Those are different questions from are they real or not. But when you find eyewitness testimony from all over the planet of things with definite size, surface shape, texture, manufactured objects, in other words, not a light in the sky. I don't care about lights in the sky. And you say that their behavior rules out conventional sources. The ability to hover, move straight up, straight down, back and forth, make right-angle turns at very high speed, without visible external engines, without any noise, without any exhaust. They're manufactured and they're not from here. That means they're from someplace else. That doesn't answer the questions you want to examine. Just like when you find a murder victim, you know somebody was shot, but that doesn't tell you who did it or why they did it or anything else. But you do have a basic fact. Somebody is dead because somebody else shot them. So it's the same with UFOs. We got multiple witness radar visual cases, for example. When you get an RB-47 reconnaissance bomber, 6 highly trained crewmen, out over the Gulf of Mexico, then over Louisiana, then into Oklahoma, Texas, lasted for over an hour. This darn thing circled around the RB-47 at 450 miles an hour, which is a pretty neat trick. You know, it was back in the 50s, mind you. It was observed on their radar. They radio the ground, what's going on up here, to make sure it wasn't something we had sent up. We don't know, but we're watching you. And Dr. James E. McDonald, professor of physics at the University of Arizona, the world's outstanding ufologist when he was alive, he talked to all 6 of those witnesses. This lasted over an hour. Now, what do you do with something like that? You say these guys are nuts? Come on. You can't. We're depending on them. Are they highly talented? Yes, highly trained because of all the instrumentation on board. That's something that wasn't ours. If we had anything that could look like that and fly like that, we've used it in a few wars that we've had since that time. So it's kind of a process of elimination. I'm not saying we don't know what it is, so it must be alien. That's not what I'm saying. But the characteristics, the appearance, and the extraordinary flying behavior. We'd give anything to have a vehicle that could duplicate that. So it's a very solid case. And physical trace cases, you never hear the debunkers talk about them. Ted Phillips in Missouri has collected more than 5,200 cases from 95 countries where people see the saucer on or near the ground. After it leaves, one finds physical changes, the equivalent of burn circles, burn rings, landing gear marks, footprints, small footprints. And in 1/6 of those cases, small beings are seen associated with the craft. Now, it's dull after the first few hundred cases. The same thing is happening all over the planet. What do you do with cases like that? You want to throw them out? We don't have many vehicles that can land in the middle of nowhere and take off from there. you know, without any help from anybody else and with no noise. So it's a very impressive amount of information. They've collected a lot of good cases here, and there will be more.